Welcome to Boris FX Live. Sponsored by Dell, NVIDIA, and Intel.
Hello everyone and welcome to Boris FX Live. In fact, it's the final Boris FX Live of 2022 and we have a very special film guest today. We've got filmmaker Damien LeVeck and he's going to be here to talk about the journey to his second feature film, A Creature Was Stirring. And he'll show us how he's been incorporating DaVinci Resolve and Boris FX Sapphire into his work. Now, this is going to be a bit of a different stream than some of our others. We're going to be starting with a quick little tip before heading into our chat with Damien. And then a little while later, we're going to dive into his timeline and see how he actually put some of his effects together. Now, I've got a load of questions to ask, but one of the benefits of being live is that you can ask yours too. And here's how you get involved. Now, we are live, so if you're watching on YouTube or Boris FX Live, you'll have a lovely little chat window in the side. So tippity-tappity your questions in there as you can, please. I already see a few are popping in already. So yeah, that's one way. What you might also want to do is head over to borisfxlive.com because we are giving some stuff away. And all you need to do is go to borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page and enter your name and email address in there for a chance to win. What we're giving away today? Well, I think we've got two 1-year subscriptions of Sapphire. Both of those are a $8.95 value, going away to two lucky winners. And we also have the Big Daddy himself, the Boris FX Suite. And we have a 1-year subscription going to one lucky person. That's $12.95 value. So yeah, just go to borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page and enter your details. Full terms and conditions can be found there. Before we head on further, I just want to say thank you very much to our sponsors, NVIDIA, Dell, and Intel, for helping to make this stream possible. So yeah, thanks very much to NVIDIA, Dell, and Intel, with a big shout out to Dell and their Precision 3660 tower. We've heard it before. It's Dell Optimizer for precision. It's got a Thunderbolt 4 PCI card option and 3 DisplayPort 1.4a with 8K support. Ooh, it's a very nice. It's a Precision 3660 from Dell. Hooray! Cost-effective, scalable performance in a mini tower design. Of course, what you want to do is also follow us live. Follow us on all of our socials. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to hit the subscribe button if you want to right about now. I do know that a lot of our live viewers are not subscribers for some reason or another, but we've also got stuff happening on Instagram, Facebook, and the Twitter. Alrighty. So that's it for the shout outs. I think I want to bring in our guest straight away. Damien, are you there? Feel free to hit the subscribe button if you want to right about now. I do know that a lot of our live... Possibly. Can we hear Damien? Damien, are you there? Hello. We can't hear anything, Brian. Oh, yeah, I should also say before we throw anyone under the bus, we have Brian Fox in mission control, pressing the buttons and doing his thing. So it seems like we have a little, just a very, very small technical issue going on right now. What you might want to do, maybe we can run a trailer for the cleansing hour or something while we're waiting and figuring out the
there we go.
Figuring out the audio issues. Oh, we got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe let's not run
Just
the trailer.
have faith.
Damien, hello.
Just have
Welcome.
faith, Ben. Give me like 1 second to solve the problem, right? 1 second.
All
right,
I've got,
you're good.
All I've got is just professionalism. Is all we've got here.
Nice.
Thank you, Brian. Damien, hello. Welcome.
Hi. How's it going?
You know, we're hitting the peak levels of Boris FX Live professionalism that we've shown throughout the past few years. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Great.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Before we get going with talking about who you are and what you do you fancy giving a little sort of quick tip before we do anything else?
A quick tip about what?
Sapphire, maybe.
Oh, about Sapphire, sure.
Oh yeah.
I've been using it a long time, and my favorite feature is the builder. And my quick tip for anybody who's using Sapphire is to really get to know the builder, because you can create your own effects, your own transitions, combining them. It's less processor intensive to do that, and it's a really, really powerful feature of the program. So that's my tip: learn the builder.
Learn the builder. I couldn't agree more. In fact, I'm not going to agree more. I think that's a perfect intro. Well, should we have a little turn to your path to how you got here and where here actually is?
Yeah.
So you've just finished directing and editing your second feature. So could you just like give us a really quick intro to what your path was to filmmaking?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have the fairly cliched story of the little boy that wanted to make movies growing up watching Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Didn't really know what that meant, just knew that like, oh, I want to do that. I want to entertain people. So I moved to LA, went to film school, and got involved in post-production pretty quickly. And my path was really through post-production. I became an editor. I started editing professionally TV shows and movies. And during that time, really kind of honing my craft as a writer as well, because you learn a lot about the economy of storytelling and pacing and tone and that sort of thing through editing. So eventually got a script together that I felt like it was worth putting 3 years of my life into. And that's the long short of how the Cleansing Hour happened. And the movie did well, and I launched a production company off the back of the Cleansing Hour. And I'm still editing. But I'm also still making movies, and I take open submissions for screenplays on my website, scubalonentertainment.com. And that is how I found the screenplay for the movie that I directed over the summer, A Creature Was Stirring. So we focus mainly on genre content, so horror movies, thrillers, that sort of thing. But I have a pretty open mind to anything that just interests me. So that's what we do. And we're teeing up the next movie for next year, directing it next year now.
Excellent. And yeah, we're seeing the trailer for the Cleansing Hour right now. I mean, actually, we might as well start there, I think, because like this was your first feature, and it's available on Shudder and the usual streaming rental avenues. But I mean, what was the genesis of it? Was it always planned as a feature?
Yeah, it was. We wrote it as a short film initially, and started in like July of 2015. I did a Kickstarter. I raised a decent chunk of money on Kickstarter for it, and filmed it in November of 2015, and then went through the whole festival circuit, and it did very well. On the festival circuit, it won a lot of awards for best horror film and best horror short film. And we went to Spain to the Citrus Festival, which was amazing with this short film. And we used it as a way of sort of selling the feature length version of the movie. So that's how we got that off the ground. I mean, it wasn't easy. It was extremely difficult, but made it happen. So here we are.
When you were like doing that sort of translation from short to feature, obviously everything sort of has to be changed up. But how, like, is this one of the things about horror? And one of the strengths about horror is that once you have that hook, you can start to build up a bigger story around it. Or
yeah, I mean,
there's
the bigger
was the original plan bigger.
The initial concept, the initial hook of the story remained the same. The thing that really changed a lot was just we developed the characters more. There was just more character development, more backstory. You had a better understanding of who these people are and where they came from, and that's just that helps a lot for filling out a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I think one of the reasons I think it worked was because there was like a nice visceral element to it, but things were happening to characters that you actually cared about, and I think that's what makes the difference than just throwing a bunch of blood at a wall. That there's actually something behind it. There's a reason that you would actually care about what's happening to these people.
My mantra when I'm writing horror is care before you scare. Always care before you scare. Spend the first 20-25 minutes of your movie getting to know who these people are, because there's really nothing worse than watching people die and not care about it. It's just like, oh, whatever. Yeah. And that makes for a forgettable movie, in my opinion.
I mean, is there something special about horror to you? Obviously your first two features were horror, and that's what your a lot of the thing you're looking for with the submitted scripts are those sort of genre. I mean, but why that particular genre?
It's hard to say. I think I had an early exposure to it. I think I watched The Exorcist when I was like 11 or 12 years old. And I've always had an affinity for, sort of supernatural paranormal horror, exorcisms and demon possessions and that sort of thing. And also just like, and I suppose an amateur interest in researching it, in real life. So I like it for that reason, but also because I think that horror is a particularly unique genre that can, evoke conversations and feelings of, eternal things like life and death, morality, right and wrong. All of that is sort of built into the genre itself, and into, sort of the structure of a plot in a horror film. And I really enjoy that. It's also one of the only genres these days where you can actually tell a unique story that's not necessarily based on an IP. You can make up, something that's completely fresh and new and that's never before seen, and like that movie can get made. A lot of times that's because it's at a budget level. So that's a couple. Those are my two biggest reasons for really loving horror.
I mean, that sort of leads me back to the horror genre being attractive to a certain type of indie filmmaker. It's a very common choice for aspiring filmmakers. I know it was part of my journey too at the very start, a journey that took a bit of a different take and a different twist than yours, but the horror genre is very attractive to aspiring filmmakers, and what do you think that is?
I think that, well, first of all, I think that horror is a very divisive or a polarizing genre. You either love it or you really don't like it. And I think that's because what it's doing, the reason why I love it, sort of evoking these feelings and thoughts of eternal things, is exactly why people don't like it. It's because they don't like to be scared. They don't like to watch people die. I think that it's popular for filmmakers starting out because I think it probably goes back to the reason that I said that I enjoy it so much, which is it gives you an opportunity to write your own story, and they can be made on a budget and be fun to watch, and it's really fun to entertain people. That's why I got into this in the first place. I really want to just entertain people. So if I can do that through horror, then I'm living the dream, and I think that that's why people will get into it. But also we're us movie guys and gals, we're all a bunch of nerds anyway. So we love horror movies. We love the good and the bad of them. We love the cult ones. We love the big studio ones. So it's just a fun genre. It's just really fun.
It really is. I see we've actually got Dark Corners in the chat, and they do horror film reviews, which is mainly looking at old bad schlock horror and finding the joy in that. So that's kind of interesting to see as well, because I mean you're right. It can be quite divisive, but I think there's there's a lot of love for even bad horror. You can enjoy that on a different level, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, thinking about that though, but like who were your influences, your filmmaking influences? I mean, you've already said Exorcist and some of the other big ones, but I mean,
Well,
is there a
horror
particular
side,
director that stands out?
well, on the horror side, I mean, because my first feature film, The Cleansing Hour, is an exorcism horror. I've been very influenced by all the directors that have made some of the best exorcism horrors out there. I mean, obviously, The Exorcist is like the gold standard, the bar. So William Friedkin, Scott Derrickson, James Wan, have all made exorcism movies that really blow me away. So I really appreciate them as filmmakers. But then, I have other directors who I really, really admire and who I've really been inspired a lot by, such as the Coen brothers, Steven Spielberg, John Ford, and those are a few off the top of my head that I really enjoy.
Hmm.
Sam Raimi's a big one.
No,
I love all of Raimi's films.
I definitely, yeah. There's you can actually see all of those little elements filtering into the Cleansing Hour as well. I think along with your own voice. I think it's a really fun film to see.
Thanks.
But I mean, if just changing gears just a little bit. Obviously, you don't just start with making a feature film. What other projects kind of prepared you for this? You definitely don't start sort of jumping into direct to feature.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I used to play classical piano, and I got to a point where I started devoting less time to practicing piano and more time to picking up my parents' video camera and like making my own little movies with that. Stop motion movies with Legos and short films with my friends in school, and teaching myself to edit at the same time. So I think you just have to. It's like anything else. It's like with editing. It's like with software. You have to just pick it up and do it and start messing around. And I've made a handful of short films over the years that you learn a lot from. You learn a lot from making a short film because it does sort of pave the way for the complications and difficulties and hardships of making a feature film. It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. Making your short film where you're doing everything is a lot. It's kind of the difference between like elementary school and the pros. You know what I mean? Or going to college. I think every time that I made a short film, every time that I edited a TV show or another person's feature film, it's something that got me ready for directing a feature and writing a feature. You just have to have an open mind and be open to criticism and have a good attitude. I think it also I would say you have to be challenged. You have to. I don't know of any filmmaker that hasn't faced some sort of horrible challenge in the process of doing it. I remember in high school I was making a film as part of a senior thesis project, and it was a Civil War epic. So you can imagine the kinds of things that I put myself through. But I had this whole scene that was set up, and it was and it rained. It was a horrible thunderstorm, and I wasn't able to shoot it, and I burst into tears. I was so heartbroken that I wasn't able to film this the way that I wanted to. So you have to learn how to deal with failure and things not going your way.
Well, I mean, with that in mind, how important is it to fail? In that sort of circumstance, what do you do? What do you learn from that sort of experience?
It's the most important thing in the world. You have to fail. You have to fail so that you can learn your own character and realize learn how am I dealing with this? Am I going to throw a fit? Am I going to cry? Am I going to pick myself up by my bootstraps and try again and learn from my lesson? That's really why failure is so important. And God knows I've failed more times than I can count. And I think that you only become a better person and a better creative and a better filmmaker by doing terrible. I wrote a screenplay that I'll never let anybody read, that I shared with my mentor, and he's like, dude, this is terrible. He's like, I had to force myself. I had to put this down 3 times before I could finally get through it. He's like, this was awful. You need to take this out back and shoot it. And I appreciate that kind of feedback. Okay, I trust your opinion. I'm going to do what you say. And it's like, if you ever watch Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful is always the guy that's kind of telling you, you really should give up and do something else. I think sometimes you need to hear that.
Well, like, it seems that it's not just important to fail, but it's important to acknowledge the failure and realize the specifics on why you're failing and which direction you're failing, so that you can sort of move in a different way and learn from it. Otherwise you just you're just kind of doing the same stuff, I suppose.
Yeah,
I mean, is there a specific experience that you can think of, though, where things were, when you're on set and everything's all going off, but none of it's going right?
Oh yeah, that was every day on my last movie. I can give you one example. We were shooting this scene that had a very special set. And it was, we had a map for like how the set was going to look. And, I had this whole shot list, and the day comes and, the set isn't ready. It's not done. The art department hadn't finished it. We're burning through the nighttime. So we're filming this in the summertime. It's a movie that takes place in the winter with a blizzard outside, but we're filming it in the summer, and the summer has less nighttime than, any other, than the other seasons. So like we have maybe 9 hours of usable time, and the set's not finished, and I'm working through this whole sort of like jigsaw puzzle of, oh my gosh, okay, so I can't film this the way that I was intending to. How do I do it now? What am I going to do? And I'm thinking on the fly, and I'm like, my hair was practically on fire because it was so stressful. I mean, I've got 50 people standing around me waiting for me to tell them what to do, and I figured it out. I mean, it was completely not what I intended on doing. I did not shoot the scene at all how I originally imagined I would. It was all completely made up on the spot. And I think that oftentimes, regardless of the budget of your movie, that oftentimes is what you have to do. You have to figure it out on the day, because there are 1,000 different things that could go wrong that could throw a wrench in your perfectly crafted plan.
Yeah.
By the way, that scene turned out.
I think that's, and I think that's another thing. I've got one more question before we sort of take a little break, which relates to that. Is like, there are so many people, on set at any given time. How are you choosing that team that surrounds you, to try and take some of that weight off of your shoulders?
Very carefully. Sometimes you don't have a lot of choice. Sometimes you have to just kind of go with who's there and who says they can do the job. But my mantra is, I want to make good movies with good people. So people who are not drama, who can have a level head, and who are good problem solvers, and who are also really creative. So I honestly think that in this business those people are few and far between. There are a lot of really bad people who get into this world of filmmaking, and you want to try and stick to your tribe, if you will. Find that core group of people and keep making movies with the same people if you can.
Yeah, I think that's something that I also know from past experiences, that a lot of the time you're sort of thrown into groups of, working with people you haven't worked with before, and sometimes people gel together, and sometimes you just don't, and people think that they're, it can be fun to work with a diva because they've got a great vision for something, but it might be good on that one project, but I found that I tend not to work with those people in in future projects because everything is an energy drain on set, and you've only got a certain amount of energy to give. And if someone is sort of sucking that energy away from you for nonsense, then that kind of takes away some of the creativity that you've got to spare in other places.
Yeah, that's very well said.
Well, I do my best. All right, we got one question from chat here, and this is a technical question. I think maybe, in fact, I'm going to ask this question after we take a break, if that's all right, and we can get everything going. So, yeah, you're watching Boris FX Live with me, Ben Brownlee, and we have got Damien LeVeck on the other side of the screen as well, who's talking about his experience as a filmmaker, and having directed and edited his second feature film just recently, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what's special about that in just a moment. But also coming up, we are going to be diving into his system and actually looking at how his edit has worked with DaVinci Resolve and some of the Sapphire effects as well. So that's going to be, really good to see. If you do have questions, then tippity tap them in the chat window over there, or down there, or sometimes over there, depending on where you're watching it. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Boris FX Live. If you're on borisfxlive.com, there is still time to join in our competition. You could win one of our big prizes. All you have to do is go to borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and enter your details for a chance to win. Full terms and conditions obviously apply. But what could you win, I hear you cry? Well, we're giving away not one, not three, but two 1-year licenses, 1-year subscriptions to Sapphire, Boris FX Sapphire, which looks a little bit like this picture right here. Brian. Oh, and we're also giving away the Boris FX Suite, of course. One lucky winner is going to be walking away with a 1-year subscription to the Boris FX Suite. All you have to do is go to Boris FX Live, scroll down to the bottom of the page and enter your details. It's that easy. In fact, it's so easy, I think I want to give away a prize now, if we possibly can. I'm just going to wait until I get the thumbs up from Brian.
We
can? Lovely.
Question mark. Ben, I'm a mess. I apologize. This is the last stream of the year, right?
It's the last stream of the year. Do you know what? We've had a really lovely year.
Had a good run.
And that just means, just Brian cracks open the 80-year cognac.
1 second, Ben.
Just a little bit early.
1 second.
It's fine. It's not a problem. This is what we're here for. We're just... Oh, okay. Excellent. I've just also, one little thing before we give the name out. If anyone decides to name prank me again this week, they're not getting a prize.
Yes.
All right. Last week was the exception. This week, no, I'm not having it. All right. Give me the drums.
All right. Here we go.
Here we go. 1-year subscription to Sapphire is going to Kevin Granderson. Kevin, well done. You have won a 1-year subscription to Sapphire. That's an $895 value. Congratulations, Kevin. We will be in contact with you very shortly. In fact, within the next couple of days, to give you your prize. All right, let's move back now and let's have a little look at what's coming up. We're going to be going into our second part of our little chat with Damien, and we're talking about the new post landscape. So what it means to actually, come into the challenges of post in 2022 and beyond. All right. So Damien, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, perfect. Good. You'd be surprised how many people run away after the first half. Um, all right. Well, let's crack into it. Like as we've said, you direct and you cut as well. How does experience with one discipline influence the other one?
It influences quite a lot, especially in terms of understanding when you're crafting something in an edit that you have an enormous power over the tone and the pacing and the performance. So I've done this for long enough to where you when you're editing something, you're scrolling through the footage. If it's scripted, you're looking at the performances and you're seeing how they change from take to take. And like, okay, I'm gonna take that line from take one. I'm gonna take that line from take three, and that's how you put it together. So when I'm on set, I'm doing something very similar. I'm editing the movie in my head. I usually have it edited before I'm even on set. The movie's already edited in my head. So when I get to set and I'm watching the performance, and this is really important on independent filmmaking, whenever you don't have a lot of time to play and do different variations of things. We rarely did more than 3 takes on A Creature Was Stirring, or The Cleansing Hour for that matter. So I'll watch a take and I'll know in my mind, okay, well, I can use these lines from take one. I'll make an adjustment so that I get the lines the way that I want them in take two. And okay, so I got the lines. I got these handful of lines over here in take two. And then whenever I go to take three, it's like, okay, let's play a little bit. Let's switch this up a bit. And then I'll know that like from those 3 takes, okay, I've got everything I need to cut the scene. And as opposed to like just kind of winging it and like not necessarily knowing like if we got it or maybe we don't have it. Knowing how it's going to cut together is an enormously valuable tool. Just like, okay, I'm comfortable moving on. I'd like to play some more, but like I have enough to keep going and make the day. So that's a really big part of it. Also just sort of having an understanding of just composition and the way that and getting in a shot list and getting those inserts that you really have to have. Like any given day I'd walk on set and I'd be like, well, here's a list of inserts that I want, and here's the list of inserts that I need. So that's also really important. Having worked for almost pushing to almost 20 years editing, you've worked on so many things where you don't have the shot that you need. So you have to figure out how to make it work. So if you're editing your own stuff, it's like it's on you. So I always get the shots that I need.
Perfect. There we go. Or you've got no excuse for actually not getting them. But I mean, does that mean when you've got a more time constrained shoot that obviously pre-production and the planning is even more important because you don't have that time to actually sort of play around a lot?
That's right. Yeah, it really is. It really is very, very important that your crew has an understanding of what's coming so that there are no surprises on the day.
I mean, how much do you rely on storyboards for that as opposed to written lists, or is it like a combo of the two?
I do both. I storyboard quite a lot. A lot of that's just for me as an exercise to sort of imagine how the scene's going to come together. But then also it's for the crew. I like to put my storyboards up on set so that everybody can kind of see, oh, this is how the scene's going to come together. This is why we're doing this setup now. And then it also gives me a visual thing where I can say, okay, we're doing this shot, and then on the next shot we're going to do this shot. So it really kind of benefits everybody.
Can we just turn to your second film, your new film now, which is A Creature Was Stirring. You decided to cut this in DaVinci Resolve, which it's a bit of a move away from the traditional tools that are used on features. What were the main reasons for choosing Resolve?
It was a combination of sort of curiosity and timing. Blackmagic announced Blackmagic Cloud that allows you to host your DaVinci Resolve project in the cloud, and they also announced the Cloud Store, which is it's network attached storage that allows you to sync with a cloud service. So it was sort of all of these things combined with the fact that like this movie was simple enough to where I felt like, okay, I can try this out in Resolve. I've used Resolve for finishing, but not for editing. And, you know, I'm curious to see how this holds up. You know, like I wouldn't do a big budget action film as my first film in Resolve. I just, you know, I'm well versed in all the NLEs, but I'd never edited something in Resolve before. So I was like, let's give this a shot. Let's try it out. And that was the reason why we ended up doing it.
Oh, I mean, this was one of the questions that came up in chat earlier, which, you know, they were asking how that transition was to Resolve from other NLEs.
I didn't have a problem with the transition. Actually, I thought it was pretty seamless. I mean, as far as like the keyboard commands and everything like that you're used to having in an NLE. You can map your keyboard in Resolve to be like Avid or like Premiere or whatever you're used to. It's all there in terms of that. So like within a week, I was easily moving very quickly through the application and editing.
Well, I mean, it also points a little bit to like a big change that's happened in remote post-production that we've seen, you know, a lot out of necessity over the past few years. You know, what's sort of been driving that, do you think? Has it been just the fact that people haven't been able to sit together in edit suites, or is it part of a sort of a broader trend?
Well, I think that the last, 2-3 years with COVID and everything was sort of like that foot that pushed the boulder over the cliff that got everyone comfortable with this idea of working remotely. That might have taken a lot longer if not for the necessity of it. And now, it's really proved, especially with post-production, that this is possible. We can work effectively. We can be creative. There's no substitute for being in the room with somebody and editing that way. But it definitely is possible to do these things that weren't possible 5 years ago. One of the other reasons why I had no problem doing this on A Creature Was Stirring was I have a company that's called Shoot 2 Post, Shoot the number 2 Post, and I do this with my assistant editor and a business partner, Jordan Maltby. What Shoot to Post does is we are a workflow company, and we process dailies and manage the media for film and TV productions. And a key part of this is we are completely cloud-based. We don't use any hard drives. So, we take your media from set, we shoot it up to the cloud, and we can distribute dailies and viewing dailies and edit dailies to editors and whoever else in the production needs to have it. So whenever Blackmagic announced the Cloud Store Mini and said that, this device is going to sync with a cloud service and it can keep all your media in sync on a cloud-based or cloud-hosted project, then it was like, okay, so we're already doing cloud-based workflows. We were going to do it on A Creature Was Stirring anyway with Shoot to Post. Let's work this into it. So we take different pieces of technology, existing infrastructure from other companies, and we tailor the workflow for the production to the movie or the TV show that they're making. So doing this for A Creature Was Stirring was perfect because we were filming in Kentucky. Jordan, my assistant editor, was in LA, and then we ended up we had a finishing house that's overseas in Europe, and I was editing in Kentucky. I started editing in Kentucky during production, and then I finished editing in Dallas. The great thing about this workflow that using the Blackmagic Cloud Store was that we had our project hosted in Resolve. It's shared, so I could see Jordan hopping in and out of bins in Resolve as I'm editing. He's adding sound effects to it, and as he adds sound effects to his project in LA, it syncs to the cloud, comes back onto my box in Kentucky or in Dallas, and is immediately online. So it was a really slick way of working. We can do this similar workflow without the Blackmagic devices, but it worked flawlessly. The project sharing with Blackmagic worked great. I really encourage. I think Resolve is up to 18.1 now. It's really solid. Didn't have any stability issues. It was rock solid during this production.
I mean, and how did that affect filming? If you were able to be cutting simultaneously, Did that allow you to see if there were any gaps in particular scenes, let you do pickups that you would otherwise have missed, or where did that fit into the flow?
It did a little bit. It's very difficult to do much editing while you're filming. But we had a few long breaks sort of that broke up the shoot that allowed me to watch dailies and put some scenes together. So it did a little bit. But I think under different circumstances I would have been able to spend more time watching the dailies. But like I said, the last movie was challenging in other ways, so I wasn't able to do as much editing on set as I wanted to. Yeah.
Well, let's talk just a little bit about the Boris FX tools. We haven't really spoken about those yet. I mean, you've been a long time Sapphire user. How does that experience with that particular tool set affect any sort of decision making in production?
Not so much in production. It was mostly in post. I mean, my familiarity with the Sapphire tool set goes back, 10 years, more than 10 years now. So I knew that when I got into the edit, there were things that I will immediately go to Sapphire to try. I will immediately I want to do a transition here. I want to do something kind of neat and cool here. I'm immediately going to look at Sapphire just because I know the tool set well, and I'm very comfortable there, and I feel like I can just sort of, let go and try and play around. So it's really big in post, not as much during production.
Okay, so because when you're designing these effects, then it seems that most of them are practical in in appearance with a fair amount of post added to it as well. How does the planning for those particular the big shots, how does that go down?
The planning for, I'm sorry, say that again.
Sorry, so like for the big VFX shots, or the big special effects shots as well, not just the VFX.
Well, I should first say that the movie is about. Let me tell you the story of the movie. It's about this woman who's a nurse, and it's set during a blizzard around Christmas time, and they're snowed in, and she's keeping her daughter locked in her room, pumped full of medication to maintain a fever, because she thinks that if she gets too hot or too cold, she turns into a monster. So these two kids break into the house to get out of the storm, and they discover over the course of the movie that the mother and the daughter have this special dysfunctional relationship, and that there is something else lurking in the shadows. And I went into this movie with the idea computers don't exist, so we're not going to do any CG creatures. It's all going to be practical. So all the creature and blood effects are all 100% practical in the movie. The only real VFX are anything we did with regarding cleanup. Or there's one VFX exterior shot of the house in the movie. So that was the approach here. Now that like I said, that is completely disconnected from the actual post-production of the movie, where when I'm editing, I do all sorts of fun stuff using Sapphire. I don't necessarily plan that ahead. It's more of on the fly.
Okay, well, I've got just a few more questions coming from chat here. The first one's a technical one, which is, what frame rates and codecs do you use for your films?
Sure.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, we're using the cinema standard 24 frames per second. We shot the movie on the Sony Venice. I shot the cleansing hour on a Red, all at 24 frames per second. And, we also used a Blackmagic Ursa on A Creature Was Stirring because it can do higher frame rate stuff. So the Venice can only really get up to about 48 frames per second. So when we were doing any kind of slow-mo stuff, it was most of the time it was on the Ursa. As far as codecs are concerned, with the Venice, Sony has its own proprietary codec, just like Red has its own Red code codec. And then, so we record to that with a medium compression on it. Everything's compressed to some degree. And then I edited A Creature Was Stirring with a low bitrate 1080p H.264 proxy, and Cleansing Hour was DNX 36 and added.
Cool, excellent. I mean, the next one is how do you put a team together when you're just starting out? I mean, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't already have a group of creative friends that do this, I think that you can go to local universities and see if you can find some students. You can, go online, find meetups. It really kind of depends. A lot of this stuff kind of depends on like where you live. What kind of creative resources and communities do you have at your disposal?
And I think I've got like just one more little series of things to go, and then we'll come back in and have a look at some of the effects. And I think this is like a big one for me. Because we've seen like huge advances in the quality of equipment for shooting and the software for editing. But how are you getting that final product seen? What's the world of distribution like now?
Man, that changes it feels like it changes every month. There's a new, nobody really knows what's coming, and whatever's happening now is already out of date. On the Cleansing Hour, we did not have distribution in place. We didn't have distribution in place when we were filming. A Creature Was Stirring was different. We did have a distribution deal, which changes things. It definitely makes getting the movie made a little bit easier. For people just starting out, I think the best thing you can do, honestly, is make the highest quality product you can and put it online for people to see for free, and build a portfolio of your work. I think that it's really hard to make a movie, but it's also really hard to get distribution for your movie, and distributors just aren't paying. They won't pay a lot of money for your movie either. So even if you have something that's really, really good, you should really try and make it for as little money as possible. So at least if you do end up with a feature film, you have the potential of making a profit on it.
No, that's excellent advice. Thanks, Damien. We'll be back in just a moment to take a deeper dive into your project. But thanks so much for letting me pick your brain for the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
We're going to be coming back and doing another prize in just a little moment. Before we go into our Fun with Sapphire stage. So if you haven't done so already and you are enjoying the little chat we're having, consider hitting that thumbs up button on YouTube. It now makes a lovely little explosion of confetti, which is always fun to see. It's the most free and freeing thing you can do today. It really helps us out a lot. And also, if you are one of the several people who haven't already subscribed to the Boris FX YouTube channel, what are you doing? Be first with all of the new videos and updates. Just have to hit that subscribe button. I'm not even asking you to hit the bell. I don't know what the bell does. I'm sure it is important, but I'm not asking you to do that. All right. So we are going to give away another prize now. Do we have our second winner, Brian? He's listening in his earpiece.
He's panicking behind the scenes. Yes, I believe so. Let's see.
We do. Okay, good.
Hold on.
Well, I'm going to say what they're going to win. They're going to win a 1-year subscription to Sapphire. Okay. I hope. Maybe. All right. Well, let's see. Let's see if the drums are rolling. Let's see if the the thing is working. All right, so yeah, so coming up is the next winner for a Sapphire 1-year subscription, $895 value. Drum rolls in chat, drum rolls in my ear. We are going to give that to Nuno Carocco. Nuno, congratulations, you have won a 1-year subscription to Sapphire. Congratulations to you. We'll be in contact in the next couple of days, telling you how you can get your prize. We do have one more thing to give away, and that is the Big Daddy himself or herself, the Boris FX Suite. That is everything that we make, including Sapphire, but also Continuum, Mocha Pro, and there we go, Continuum, Mocha Pro, Silhouette, and Optics, all going away to one lucky winner. That is a 1-year subscription to the Boris FX Suite. If you haven't entered our competition and you haven't won today, go to borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page and enter your details there. Full terms and conditions apply. Alrighty, well, let's head on back now. Damien, are we going to be all right to drop into your screen now and have a little look at some of the stuff you've been making?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, we can do that.
Well, let's do it. Let's.
Can you see this?
Yeah, we can see it. Perfect.
So for, I don't know how many, let's see, I'm looking at, you got like a 57 or 60 people watching on YouTube, but I'll give you just, I'm sure some of these people are editors, would love to see just like what this looks like, the way the project is organized, first of all. You know, you organize it in the same way you would organize most projects of this sort, but you know, here it is. This is everything in the movie. And it worked out. It worked out great.
Can we just say that this is the actual timeline as well? This is the actual project that you're working on. This isn't a made for demo.
Yeah, this is reel 2 of the movie, right here. Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience working in here. I mean, that's not to say it's not without its issues. You know, I certainly, Blackmagic was very good about sort of like taking our notes and saying, you know, here are some ways that this can be improved. But I mean, I think they've been doing an amazing job, you know, developing this application and really making it ready for prime time. So here is, you can see a little bit of the audio here too. You know, it looks pretty standard for a feature film timeline. There you go. That's everything. So, and I can give you a little look at some stuff we did with Sapphire, if you'd like. Please. Yeah. So there's this scene where 2 people are talking, and it goes into a flashback, and you know, I like playing with, you know, glitch effects and, you know, where it's appropriate for the story, of course, but, you know, glitch effects. And I cut between these 2 shots in the movie here with a bit of a glitch effect. Now there is, I think, a glitch sort of transition in the the Sapphire Suite, but I wanted to kind of make my own. And this is again where like I go to the builder, you know, like, go to the builder and like make something bespoke, make something that's unique to the movie. So I'll just quickly dive into this so you can see how this was all put together. This is only a 3-frame transition, so it's very, very fast. If I go to edit effect, you can kind of see what I did. Here's the builder. So it starts with just a regular dissolve transition, right? So it's just doing this, right? And then I added a parallax strips on here, which kind of gave us this sort of like tearing of the picture effect. And then I wanted to shake it a little bit, so we shake it up, throw an S shake on there. And then I wanted to, like, I don't know, I started playing with like putting a zap in there. But I didn't want the zap to affect the whole picture. So I did an edge detect and kind of limited it to just the white parts of the image, I believe is what I did. So the ultra zap here, you can see the zap, sort of shows up very light right here for like a single frame. It's very subtle, but the point is that you get to make something on your own. And then I just use the composite node to combine them here. So you get that little bit of a zap in there, gives it a little texture. And then to make it feel more flashy, that's where I put the glow in. So the glow goes on top of everything. You can barely even see the zap, but the point is like, it's fun to make something on your own. And then you get the final product. And I could save this transition and use it later on if I want to. So that's how this one worked. Now the other one is the other one that I want to show is this one right here. It's this transition between these two shots right here, and it ended up being actually a pretty simple thing to do. But what I really thought was cool was in this dream sequence, there's this smoke everywhere. And covering the ground, and it felt right to kind of get into like something with clouds. So again, I used the builder for this. I'll just go to edit effect, and you can see it started as it's just a dissolve. It's just a dissolve, and then I used a defocus effect to do a blur. It's more interesting than a Gaussian blur. I like it because you kind of get some chromatic aberration on there. You see how the colors split, the blue and the red there, whenever you do a defocus effect. And then I just combine that with clouds, with the clouds effect. And then I was ramping up the brightness of the clouds. And let's see what else on here. Yeah, just the brightness of the clouds. Over here you can see the keyframes up and down. And it's just literally just adding clouds onto it. But it made for a really elegant transition into this shot, which was really cool. So it worked out great. So I used that to get us in. Did you end up
reusing that same transition a couple of times, or was that a one-off?
Yep, I reused it. I actually reused it right here. I'm sorry, there's a little buffer there.
Oh, nice.
But I like it because it makes the girl kind of just sort of appear. She just sort of like, woo, there she is. It worked really well. So here's that flash zap transition again that I reused. You can kind of see the zap a little bit more in there. And so let me also just
finish those effects in. Oh, sorry. So just really quickly, when you finish these effects in Resolve, did you then have to go and rebuild them somewhere else, or were these the final effects?
Well, the short answer to your question is yes. Now, I would not have had to do this if the vendor who did our DI were using the same version of Resolve as I was. The really cool thing about DaVinci Resolve 18 and Blackmagic Cloud is that I could be editing the movie and the colorist could be actually working on the grade at the very same time. And that is crazy. One of the reasons why we thought that working in Resolve with Resolve 18 would be such a good idea is that it would allow us to do that. We could get a jump start on the DI before the picture was locked. Unfortunately, we had to conform it in DaVinci Resolve 17 because the vendor didn't want to upgrade just yet. It was still a new release, which I totally understand. But so what I ended up doing was I literally went through and I saved every single transition as a preset file named with the time code where it's used, so that the colorist just had to go in, find that time code, and then drop it on. So I did go through with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that he had every single transition and filter that I used with the exact same parameters. That way it looked the same on his end.
Excellent.
There's one other transition here that I wanted to show, that it's the flutter cut, which I never ever thought whenever I saw this that I would use, but I did, and it works pretty well. I also use this. I also use the bad TV effect here, the Sapphire bad TV in this moment. with an adjustment layer. There's the flutter cut. I never ever thought I would use the flutter cut, but what I ended up doing was I was using the flutter cut to go between, sort of, spoiler alert, reality and fantasy in the movie, and it ended up working pretty well. So, yeah, that's a handful of examples of where I use Sapphire in the post process.
Cool. I mean, that's really great to see, and it's actually really edifying to see a completely unreleased film just sat there as a Resolve timeline. It's not a sight that most people get to see. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
No, that's awesome, Damien. That's really cool. I think we're gonna just leave that there. I know we've used up our time with you now. So I just want to say thanks very much for hanging out with us. Please feel free to hang around for just a little bit longer. But
sure. I'm also happy to answer any
what I'm going to do.
People have about. I'm happy to answer any questions people have about about editing in Resolve or just the experience making the movie. I know a lot of people are surprised to hear we edited in Resolve. So
yes, I will be. I'm actually trying to make my way through chat as we speak here. It's a lot of juggling going on at the moment.
No problem.
But while I do that, I'm going to distract myself with our final winner, I think, and then I can come along to final Q&A. So I'm going to say, Brian at Mission Control, do you have our final winner who's going to be walking away today with the Boris FX Suite, a 1-year subscription worth $1,295. It's a huge prize. It's everything we do. It's going to go to Jonathan Dash. Thank you very much, Jonathan Dash. Well done. Congratulations. You have won a 1-year subscription to the Boris FX Suite. So you're going to be able to be working with Sapphire, with Continuum, with Mocha Pro, with Silhouette, and with Optics. Well done. Well done. Congratulations, Jonathan. Congratulations to all of our winners today. As I said, we will be in contact with you in the next 24 to 48 hours, telling you how you can claim your prize. Actually, we're just going to give you the prize. That's pretty much it. If you didn't win today, don't worry. We will be back with Boris FX Live. Not this year. This is the final Boris FX Live of 2022. But next year, we're going to be back bigger, stronger, more brazen than ever. I don't know. We've had like a ton of really excellent guests this year. Hopefully we can match the quality again next year. It's going to be a tall order. We've had some real biggies. Of course, if you haven't seen all of the Boris FX Live shows, I don't know what you're doing, but you can always go and see them replayed on the Boris FX YouTube channel. We also have them available at boriseffects.com, and you go into our video archives and we have a ton of stuff there. And also, don't forget to subscribe to YouTube. We do tons of videos. Everyone wants to see them. So why not be the first to actually get a chance there? Be the first one to hit the thumbs up. Who knows? You might get a present or a cookie or something. I'm not sure. All right, I'm going to turn around and just have a look for the final questions. I know we're up against it today.
Hey Ben, let me just butt in for a second. Damien, if you could just turn back on your camera.
Is my camera off?
Yeah, I'm still seeing your screen share.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. There we go.
I thought it was off. There we go.
And while I'm here, I have a question. I mean, I have tons of questions, but I have one specific question to me, which is the director-DP relationship seems like this such an important relationship. Like, how do you choose your DP? Do you work with the same people? How do you, I mean, are you interviewing people? Do you have people you want to work with? Do you have people you must work with? Like, I'm fascinated by that because it seems like such a critical component of any film.
Yeah, I would say that when you're directing, there is no more important role that you have to nail when you're hiring somebody than your DP. This is hands down the most important thing. I worked with different DPs on Cleansing Hour and A Creature Was Stirring. It's funny the way life works out. I asked my Cleansing Hour DP if he could do A Creature Was Stirring, and he was booked. So I started the process of, again, interviewing DPs, and, which I did on Cleansing Hour. And, it's, you just kind of get this sense when you're interviewing people, like, is this person, how enthusiastic are they? Do they have some good ideas that I think are good ideas? And then it's kind of like, okay, you got to pick and just, hopefully it works out. On Cleansing Hour and on A Creature Was Stirring, I was very, very blessed to work with two exceptionally talented DPs, both of whom I can't wait to work with again. And I can't speak highly enough of them. I mean, Alex Chinisi on A Creature Was Stirring, Jean-Philippe Bernier on Cleansing Hour, amazing. So choose carefully, choose wisely, as the knight says. Your DP he's going to make or break your movie.
Excellent Last Crusade reference. Love it.
I love how we're back to Indiana Jones, where we started the whole thing as well. Just one more little question from, actually I've got two small questions from chat. One was, like, did you teach yourself Resolve, and how did you do it? What resources did you use?
Well, for anything on the color page, I taught myself with YouTube and like the internet. I did not do the grade on the movie. I left that to a professional. On the edit page, I taught myself. It was, most NLEs are pretty similar in terms of like their design. Their function might differ, but the keyboard mapping thing is your friend. You just have to learn. Every program calls things not every program calls like a match frame something different. So you have to just learn what that means in Resolve or an Avid.
Yeah, and why you should always set that to F. Yes, that's right.
You would hate my keyboard. Match frame is not my keyboard. I'm a big fan of like sort of the mnemonic devices, but that only goes so far.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. The other one coming in from chat is those effects, the builder that you were working with before, does that work in the same way in other products like After Effects or Premiere?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. Being able to play back real time might not be the same. That's Brian knows, but I mean the functionality is all the same. And in fact, those presets that I make, you could send that to your After Effects guy and have your graphics team use the exact same effect that you made in your edit timeline, so they can have the same settings and stuff. That's what's cool about it.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very cool. I mean, that's one of the things that I enjoy most about working with Builder as well, is that it is just so universal. Like you build something that is completely unique, and then you can send it out to anyone who has Sapphire, no matter what they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always a cool thing. My final question, and it's definitely not a canned plugs question, but where can people see the Cleansing Hour, and where would one go to watch that film?
There's many options. You can stream it if you have a Shudder subscription, shudder.com, and then you can rent it on all the major platforms: Amazon, iTunes, Google, YouTube, Vudu. It's pretty easy to find just about everywhere. I think it's like $3 rental.
Remember to use the promo code BenIsBest to get. No, I don't think that's not a promo code. And what about a creature? A creature was stirring. I mean, when's that going to come out? And how do we see
Well,
that?
because of the timing of production, we weren't able to get it done in time for a 2022 release. So we have our fingers crossed that we will do a TIFF Toronto midnight premiere, which is in September next year, and that would be followed by a fall theatrical release in around October, and then ready for home video for the holiday season.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I can't wait for it. I really enjoyed Cleansing Hour. I heartily recommend people go see it. Yeah, definitely worth a rental fee, that's for sure. Or your Shudder subscription. Who knows? If you're a horror fan, you probably got a Shudder subscription anyway.
Yeah.
Damien, thank you very much again for your time today. It's been absolutely fascinating. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you for this hour. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Maybe October time next year. Who knows?
Certainly will. Yeah. See you at NAB.
Excellent. See you at NAB. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thanks very much to our guest Damien LeVeck. Thank you very much to all of the Boris FX team who work so hard on these live streams behind the scenes. You know, special thanks obviously to Jesse and Chrissy in the chat. A big shout out to button pusher extraordinaire Mr. Brian Fox in Mission Control. My name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX. This has been our final Boris FX Live of 2022. We will see you again next year. So thank you very much to everyone who's joined us. We'll see you again very soon. But take care. Bye for now.